Hello my beautiful basilisks, I'm Mythology and Mind, you can call me Eminem, and this is not one of my usual videos. This is a project I had to make for English for Psychologists, one of my classes, with two of my friends, and because the topic is really in my lane, I asked them if they mind me uploading the video to my channel, and they said yes, yay! So it's not an in-depth analysis, it's like really superficial, I'm going to call it, okay? So if that's not something you're interested in, honestly valid, and I'll try to see you next month.
In the index of this project, it is found the parts we are going to talk about. The introduction, the schizophrenia, the dissociative identity disorder, the bipolar disorder, the depression, the agoraphobia, and the post-traumatic stress disorder. Introduction. Why this specific topic? We have decided to choose this topic because we think it is important for people to know what it is a myth and what is the truth regarding mental health disorders, so as not to make assumptions and segregate people who have them. About the definition of mental health disorder, according to the WHO, a mental disorder is characterized by a significant clinical disturbance in the cognition of an individual, their emotional regulation or their behavior. Here it going a brief note. Although there are multiple mental disorders worth mentioning with attached myths to it that ought to be refuted, we will focus on the ones we think are the most popular.
One of the most misunderstood disorders is schizophrenia, with quite a few misconceptions surrounding it. The first one that came to our minds is that people with schizophrenia have multiple personalities, as this is a common portrayal in media. No, they do not have multiple personalities. They, however, might experience hallucinations or delusions, which brings us to our second myth. People with schizophrenia are not violent towards others, not more than any neurotypical person may be, but they do have a higher risk of hurting themselves, and especially people with paranoid schizophrenia have a very large suicide rate. Some people also believe that this disorder is caused by bad parenting. I mean, if you're biologically predisposed at suffering it, and your parents give you drugs and emotional distress, yeah, they might contribute to causing it, but there is not a direct correlation. There is also a belief held usually by older generations that people with schizophrenia cannot function in society, work, have relationships or even friendships, which is far from the truth. If they get the help they need from medications and therapy, they can have regular lives. If you want to know more misconceptions about schizophrenia, I have a video about it on my channel. Sorry, back on topic. Dissociative Identity Disorder is pretty new to both the public and psychological spheres, so most people know about it from movies like Split, which is awful, by the way. Most people think that DID systems, which is how we refer to the multiple identities that cohabit a body, have a violent or mass murderer identity in them. No, but they can have persecutors whom act violently towards the system and may cause them to self-harm, but they are not a risk to others. The second myth is also believed by some psychologists even, that DID is something made up, either to entertain or to attract attention. It is proven that it's a real thing though, and we as psychologists should educate the general public better on it. Bipolar is one of the most popular disorders people throw around in casual conversations, without understanding it properly. When someone changes their mood or emotions quick, we call them bipolar, though mania and depression can last from weeks to months, especially depression. Also, some people believe mania is not bad and rather fun and productive. But people suffering from mania are very irritable, they can't focus and they tend to take risks, putting themselves in danger.
Depression, myths and truths. Myth number 1. Depression is about feeling sad. While it is true, it also involves physical symptoms like changes in appetite and quality of sleep, and emotional symptoms like feelings of worthlessness and changes in behavior. So no, it's not only about being in a sad mood. Myth number 2. Depression goes away with time. Older generations do tend to think that, but in truth, it can get worse if left untreated and has a major suicide risk. Myth number 3. People with depression are just lazy or weak, and being busy cures it. Another common thought from older generations. But depression can cause people to have no energy, not the other way around, and having hobbies, it is important, but it is not the only treatment against it. Having your schedule packed won't make you feel better. Myth number 4. People with depression are always crying and sad. In truth, while these emotions or these moods from people with depression tend to be negative and tend to be true, it doesn't mean that they can smile or laugh or have fun, and they can and are very much able to. Agoraphobia, myths and truths. Myth number 1. Agoraphobia is the fear of open spaces. In truth, agoraphobia is the fear of being in situations in which someone will be cornered or powerless, and that tend to be in open spaces. Myth number 2. They never leave the house. The truth is that though it is true for some people with this disorder, it is not true for most of them. They are afraid of specific places like the public transport or crowds, but not the open. Myth number 3. Agoraphobia is the same as introversion. The truth is agoraphobia is a mental disorder with specific symptoms, while introversion or extroversion are personality traits that everyone possesses to a scale. People with agoraphobia can be an extrovert. Post-traumatic stress disorder, myths and truth. Myth number 1. Only soldiers or people in war zones have PTSD. Anyone who has experienced a traumatic event, lived or seen, can experience post-traumatic stress disorder. It doesn't matter if they are soldier or not. Myth number 2. PTSD happens right after the traumatic event. The truth is that the disorder can take months or years to manifest itself. Delayed onset PTSD happens 6 months after the event.